Hi everybody, Brint Fanizza here, also known as the Scissor Man, coming to you with another Famore Live. Thank you for watching and thank you for tuning in. Miss you guys out there. This has kind of been a weird year for all of us, but I will tell you, I miss your hugs and I miss your kisses, but we're going to get back there, I promise you. So today, we're going to talk about something a little different. Normally we talk about our scissors and our tweezers, but today we're going to talk about a different cutting tool that we've never really talked about, but it's something that we've been working on for the past 4 years, kind of under the radar, and that's rotary blades. Ta-da! Yes, rotary blades. There's been some of you out there that have said, are you ever going to come out with your own rotary blade? Are you ever going to come out with your own rotary blade? It's been in the back of our heads, but truth of the matter is we wanted to come out with something completely different, something that no other company has even brought out. And we did. So if you are a professional quilter, if you're a cosplayer, a DIYer, a crafter, an artist, a drawer, a painter, you're going to love what we're going to introduce. We are introducing to you the Famore Professional Tungsten Carbide Rotary Blade. Now, for some of you that are asking, well, what's tungsten carbide? Well, tungsten carbide is 5 times harder than steel, and it's 4 times harder than titanium. So let's put that in perspective a little bit. So your traditional rotary blades are made out of a high-speed steel. Normally they're made out of either an SKS7 or an SKH9. If it's from Japan, they're SKS7s. If they're German, they're SKH9s. Okay, technical stuff. The hardness levels of blades, and why is the hardness important to a blade? Well, the harder the steel, the sharper the edge, and the harder the steel, the longer the edge will last. So if it's a soft steel, think about it, it's gonna erode quicker than if it was a hard steel. So a normal high-end rotary blade has a Rockwell hardness, and that's how steel is rated, is on the Rockwell hardnesses. And if you want to Google Rockwell hardness, HRC, you're more than welcome to do it, and I would encourage you to do it as well, to kind of validate with what I'm going to be telling you today. But a traditional high-end rotary blade has a HRC, Rockwell hardness, of anywhere between a 59 to a 62. A lower end blade is going to have a Rockwell hardness of anywhere between 49 to 52. All right? A tungsten carbide rotary blade is going to have a Rockwell hardness of 75 plus. Now let's break all this down. So a 49 to a 52 is a relatively soft blade. Also, what your cheaper scissors are going to be add on the Rockwell hardness. So as you cut with those scissors, or as you roll with these with your rotary cutters, the edges are going to break down quicker because it's softer. So if you're using your higher end, your Olfas and your Kais and things like that, which are great blades, you're going to get in, or the Famore domestic blade that we're going to be talking about, those blades have a Rockwell hardness of a 59 to a 62, which the blade is going to last you a lot longer than your cheaper blades are going to last. A tungsten carbide having a 75 plus is going to be much harder to break that edge down, no matter what you're cutting. So speaking with quilters and also cosplayers, and we've been working a lot with cosplayers, and this is what really has sparked our interest in creating this tungsten carbide blade, is the cosplay industry. Because most of the cosplayers that we meet that actually sew and make their own outfits don't use a rotary blade because all of the materials that they use are synthetic. And synthetic fibers, if you're a quilter or if you're a sewer, you know is much harder on scissors than organic is. And so we wanted to come up with a product that they could use easily that wouldn't break down or give up so quickly. And that's why we've come up with the Tungsten Carbide rotary blade. So now that we've talked about that a little bit, so let's go ahead and show you what this thing is all about. So the one thing I do want to point out is it will fit on most of your handles out there. I know a lot of you out there have your favorite handle. There are some people that absolutely love this handle, and there are some people out there that absolutely hate this handle. I know there's a lot of you that love this handle, and there's a lot of you that don't love this handle. So we're not going to get into the debate on what handle's better than the other. All we're going to get into the debate about is what blade and whose blade is better. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and put these on, and again, it will fit on 90% of all of your handles that you have out there. And for those of you that are wanting to know if it will fit on your handle, simply go to our website. We're going to have a list of them. If it's not on our website, please don't hesitate to give us a call. If it's not on our website and if it's your handle, within a very short period of time, we'll find out if it's going to fit your handle or not. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and use an OFA handle. And with this, we're just going to be putting this on. I will say this, be incredibly careful with this blade and with all blades. Rotary blades are really sharp, but the tungsten carbide blade is exceptionally sharp. And the one thing you're going to notice when you receive this, it's got a little bit more weight to it than your traditional rotary blade does. The material is a much more dense material. And one thing I do want to cover, so when you Google Rockwell hardness, and when you Google high Rockwell numbers, the harder the steel, the more the brittle the steel becomes. So if I were to drop this on a tile floor, if I were to drop this on a concrete floor, chances are it's going to break. So you really want to be very, very careful with this. It is going to last you twice as long as this blade, but you're going to have to be a little bit more careful with this blade than you are with this blade. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this on. And with this one here, there's a couple more components to it. We are working on a rotary blade handle. And again, it is going to be completely unique, but we're not quite there yet with it. So stay tuned, and we'll be letting you know as soon as it comes out. We're going to start off with something really basic, and what we're going to start off with is 100% cotton muslin. And this is a very lightweight muslin. Now, with some of your lower end blades, a lot of you quilters out there and sewers, the ones we've spoken with, one thing that kind of aggravates you a bit is those little threads that are left behind that it didn't cut, and you actually have to tear it away from the project, from your fabric, or use a pair of scissors. So one thing you're going to notice is that's not going to be an issue with that, and also thickness. So the thicker the fabrics, and we're going to demonstrate with some of the thicknesses of fabrics, but I just want to show you really quick how easy this is to cut. So, and another thing that's really important is your cutting mat. Having a good quality cutting mat is really important. And making sure that you're cleaning it often, because whenever you're cutting your fabrics, it leaves a little bit of fiber. And once you're done cutting, now I've already cleaned this mat already before we started, but I can already feel some of the residue from me cutting on this. So make sure that you clean your cutting mat regularly. You can use just soap and water. Clean it, make sure it's dry before you use it again. You don't want to get that soap or water on your fabric. The other thing is a good quality mat. A lot of the mats, they say, are self-healing. And what that basically means is that the material that they make this out of, whenever you cut into it, doesn't leave a gap. All right, so it's not a hard material that gouges it. So it just glides through, and it just leaves a very little bit of a trace behind, if you want to say. Are they 100% self-healing? There's a lot of debate out there about cutting mats and being self-healing. Personally, with what I've spoken with mat manufacturers, there really isn't 100% self-healing. It just doesn't leave a very big gap. Anyway, so very important that you have a very good quality cutting mat, because that has a big thing to do with the cutting edge, because you are actually going, you're rolling on that, and the edge, if this is a really, really hard mat that's not pliable, you're going to damage that edge. I mean, you might as well be rolling on concrete or going over rocks with it. So anyway, let's go back. So we're at a single layer of muslin, which goes through a hot knife for butter. But let's go with 4 layers of fabric. All right, so we're going to go with 4 layers of fabric, and it went through it quite easily. Now we're going to go with 8 layers of fabric. Just like that. Now let's go with 16 layers of fabric. So that's 16 layers of lightweight muslin. Just that simple. Now let's take it one step further. Let's take it lengthwise. Because it is 16 layers, you are going to have to put a little bit more pressure on there. But if you can see, it's an absolute clean, precise cut. But we're not done there. So speaking with a lot of the people in the cosplay industry, in the upholstery industry, in the home deck industry, the rotary blades burn out really, really quick because of all the synthetic materials. And again, we're wanting you to be able to use this blade 2 to 4 times longer than any other blade you've ever had. So let's see how it compares. So this is a canvas material. So canvas is a bit of a harder kind of material. And just to show you really quick, man, I love the way that sounded. It just listen. Could you hear that? So that's a single layer. Let's go to a double layer of canvas. Let's just see how this works. Now, one of the things that I did when I was testing this blade out, we were at the original Sewing and Quilt Expo in Duluth, and Off the Wall Quilts was right across from me. And for those of you that know Off the Wall Quilts, they're an acrylic ruler company, and I saw her using her rotary blade constantly. So towards the end of the show one day, I asked her, I said, if you don't mind me asking, I said, how many rotary blades do you go through at a show? And she said, about 2 a day. I said, 2 a day? And she said, yeah. And I was like, wow, and she was using a higher end blade. One of the things that I've learned is, for those of you that use acrylic rulers, one of the things that happens a lot is you run into that ruler when you're cutting. And a lot of times what happens is when you run into that ruler, you actually nick the blade, and you have to replace your blade. We actually hit this blade on a ruler, on an acrylic ruler, 4 different times. I looked at her and I said, let's take it a step further. And I actually rolled over the ruler twice. Then I took it lengthwise and I rolled over the ruler that way, and she looked at me and she said, there's no way it's going to cut. I said, I don't know. I said, I've never done this. I said, this is a test. It cut like a hot knife through butter. I asked her to keep that particular blade, take it home, and tell me how long it lasted. And she advised that it lasted for well over a couple of weeks with her using it. And what happened to it was, she was doing a quilt, she was using a cheaper cutting mat, and she rolled over a pin. She was in a hurry and she rolled over a pin, and she said, but she said it's still cut. She said just not as well as it did when we first put it on. So we have put this thing to a lot of abuses and a lot of tests, and we've had a lot of other people test this blade for us. We are now 4 layers. I've had quilters that quilt with leather. Kathy Wiggins, she is a leather quilter that exclusively quilts with leather, and she called me up one day just absolutely ecstatic. She said, you know, she said, this blade is as sharp today as it was the day you sent it to me. And I was pretty excited about that. But again, we're at 4 layers of this canvas material. And as you can see, it cuts through it. Now it is a thicker fabric, so you are having to press down a little bit harder. But as you can see, it cuts it with no problem. Here is a home deck fabric. This is a multi-purpose decor fabric. I do believe that this is this a wool knit? Tweed. It's a tweed knit. So, you know, if you've ever cut tweed, but needless to say, you can cut it with no problem. And let's go ahead and let's double this up here. We'll double the fun, we'll double the thickness. As you can see, now let's do 4 layers. Now that's a pretty thick fabric. But again, we're wanting to test this with you to see how far we can take it. All right. And this is a really beautiful, soft quilted velvet. If you can see that, it's a very, very soft velvet. It's got the velvet on the front. It's got a cotton fabric on the back side, and it has a polyester batting in it, and it has stitches through it. And let's just see how it cuts through this velvet beautifully. Wow. Now let's go ahead and double this up just to see how well it cuts with 2 layers of velvet. Now, because velvet is a slicky material, you see how it bundled up there? So you definitely want to be careful. Watch your fingers, keep that fabric flat. So that's 2 layers. We're going to go with 4 layers of this beautiful velvet material. Again, you're going to have to apply a little bit more pressure because it is a thicker fabric. But as you can see, I didn't go all the way through with it. As you can see, it cut very, very clean. And this here is beautiful. This is a cotton linen multi-purpose upholstery fabric. Absolutely gorgeous. So let's just cut with this fabric. Oh, wow. So one of the testers we had using our rotary blade, she is the most famous cosplayer in the industry. And when I called her up, I said, do you use a rotary blade? And she says, no. And I said, you don't use a rotary blade? She's an absolute impeccable sewist. And she makes all of her own costumes. And she said rotary blades don't work on the fabrics that she uses because they're synthetic. And I said, well, would you mind just testing our blade just to give me some of your thoughts, pointers on it? And her response was, oh my God. She says, I've never cut with something so sharp. She said, it's almost like I'm telepathically cutting. And she said, like, seriously, she said, like I think cut, and it does. And when you cut through this, I mean, it's just so effortlessly. It's just really neat. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on your single fibers as you would a traditional rotary cutter, especially if it's a more stiffer fabric. So this material here, this is a cotton tweed. It's a very soft cotton tweed. You can see how it's Let's go with 2 layers of this cotton tweed. There's 2 layers. Let's go 4 layers. And let's go 8 layers. Again, it's going to kind of bunch up, so I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on that, but it does cut very, very clean. This is a vinyl. This is a cosplay vinyl. This is actually one of Yaya Han's vinyls. If you folks know Yaya Han, she's an incredible cosplayer, but cuts through the vinyls very, very easily. Now let's go with a multiple layer vinyl. Let's go 4 layers of vinyl. And let's just, hey, you know what, I'm not going to, well, yeah, we can. I was going to say, it's getting a little narrow there and I didn't want it to skip. All right, there is 8 layers of vinyl. Well, hold on one second. I was afraid that it was going to bounce off. Well, 8 layers of vinyl is pretty much at its, you know what? It was the thickness of the blade. So let me bunch this up again. It's a 60 millimeter blade. If you can see, it doesn't clear the blade. Can you see that? It doesn't clear the blade. The 8 layers doesn't clear the blade in this handle. So let's just and EVA foam. 60 millimeter is a blade that we will be working on. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot of engineering that goes into these tungsten carbide blades. It's not as simple as a regular high-speed blade. But as you can see, it does EVA foam very, very easily. And let's just, your faux furs. This is a Shannon Fabrics. And folks, if you know Shannon Fabrics, they've got all different cuddle materials, faux furs. And scissors are very difficult to work with this material, and rotary blades break down really, really quick with this kind of material. So again, the tungsten carbide rotary blade is going to work with all these fibers, and it's not going to affect the longevity of your blade whatsoever. You see there? And let's just show you really quick. So after cutting all that, we're going to go back to our single weight muslin. Without a skip. So we've cut all these other fibers, and now we're going to take it a little step further. So what I want to do is put some wear and tear on this thing for you. So what do you do when your rotary blades go dull? Most of the time you go out and you go buy another rotary blade. Well, here at Famore, we have been working on, as you know, if you own our scissors, that we have a sharpening service that we offer all of our scissors. So if you buy a pair of scissors from us, and if the scissors eventually, because nothing stays sharp forever. You can ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you that all day long. Nothing stays sharp forever, but what we do offer is a sharpening service on our Famore blades, or Famore scissors. You can send them back to us. We sharpen them back to factory specs, and we send them back to you. You're going to be able to do that with your rotary blades as well. We have developed a professional rotary blade sharpening system that will bring your rotary blade back to life like it was brand new. And we're also going to be sharpening other brands of blades. So your Olfas, your Kais, your Fiskars, your Martellis, whatever you have out there, we will be able to sharpen it. And the great thing about our sharpening service that we're doing on them, we can get them sharper than they ever were new. So if your blades do go dull, don't worry about it. You can always send them back, especially your tungsten carbide blades, because they're not going to be cheap. You know, they're going to last you 2 to 4 times longer than a regular blade, but we want to assure that this blade is going to last you for years to come. So anyway, we're going to put some wear and tear, like I said, on this blade here. And let's see, do some canvases. And let's do this beautiful tweed. I love making a mess. You know one thing I didn't cut? Ladies and gentlemen, if you are out there and you are a cosplayer, or if you're a leather quilter, or if you like to sew with leather, it'll even cut leather. So I'm just wanting to put some wear and tear on a whole bunch of different material. Right, we're almost there. All right, have I made enough of a mess? All right, so we have done all that. We're going to clean this up here a little bit. And then we're going to get our muslin back out here and just see how much damage we put on that blade. Now, if you were to do that with a blade at home, chances are it's going to start skipping your threads, or it's not going to cut at all. But again, with the tungsten carbide, it doesn't skip a beat. So yeah, let's try these leathers. So if you have any leathers at home, now most of your rotary blades will be able to cut this kind of a leather with no problem. But when you get into the thicker leathers, the 9, 10, 12, 13, this is where it becomes more of a challenge. And it's also thick. So because it is a leather and it is thick, you're going to have to put a little bit more pressure on it. Whoops. What am I going to do with all these pieces? Nothing, because I don't quilt. All right, so there is all of our pieces of leather. Now one last cut of our muslin to see how it holds up. See if the tungsten carbide has held the test. So folks, this is our professional tungsten carbide rotary blade. To learn more, go to our website at famcut.com. And if you have any other questions after you visit our website, please don't hesitate to give us a call here at the office. I'd love to talk to you about it. If you have a particular material that you're using that you're wanting to know if it'll work or not, you can call us up, and if we don't have the answer, we will get the answer. We have taken the blade to some special composite material experts, and we have discovered that our blade just doesn't cut these kinds of fabrics. It also cuts industrial grade fabrics like Kevlar. Now Kevlar is the stuff that they make bulletproof vests out of. There's not a rotary blade on the market that will cut Kevlar. There is not one, except this one. This blade will cut Kevlar. Once it cut Kevlar, it went through our muslin with ease. The other thing is graphite fibers. Now, graphite fiber and Kevlar require a very specific kind of scissor to even cut. Normal scissors will not cut Kevlar. It takes a very specific kind of scissor, as well as the graphite fibers. Cut it with ease. And we've got a lot of industrial companies that are quite interested in this, and we're excited to work with those. So with that said, when you're done with this blade, it's going to come in a nice little plastic container like this. You're going to want to keep this container because that's what you're going to send it back to us in to get it sharpened. All right, and it'll be your container. We will put the date of when it was sharpened on the blade with the Sharpie, so when you get it home, and if you've got other blades, you can look and refer to that and know exactly when you got it sharpened. Also a good idea to gauge how long that blade's going to last. So the other thing is your traditional blades, if you want to get those sharpened, folks, we do have a minimum blade. If you go to our website, it'll tell you all about it, but you do have to send them in these plastic containers. If you do not have a plastic container, you will be able to order a plastic container from us, and that will be your plastic container. All right, just make sure and hang on to it. Let's see here. Is there anything else that I've missed? I feel like there's something I have missed. Oh, I have missed something. So besides our tungsten carbide blade, we are coming out with our own high-speed blade, that same kind of blade that you would buy from a OFA or a Kai. It's got that 59 to 62 on the Rockwell hardness, and you'll also be able to get this sharpened as well. It's not going to last you as long as the tungsten carbide, but it will last you a while. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call. Look at our website. Miss you guys, love you guys. I wish I could give everybody a hug. So this is a virtual hug from me to you. #stay sharp, and we'll see you soon.